You now tuned in to the Gumptown Podcast. I'm your boy Doug B. We ain't got nothing to talk about, but we got something to talk about. Let's go. Good people. Welcome back to the Gumptown Podcast, episode 40. I'm your boy Doug B. If you tuned in to this podcast, thank you for your time and your attention. I really appreciate you giving this podcast a shot. Before we bring on today's guest, we got something to talk about, good people. We back for another edition of Support Your Own Sunday, all right? Shout out to Equip Community Defense Training and Tactics, episode 3 of the Gumptown Podcast. Had my bro Trent Bennett on talking about business and products and services, what they got going on over there. They're running a great company over there. He and his wife Madison doing great things in the state of Alabama as well as Georgia. They have classes that they're going around training, teaching people gun safety, gun laws, self-defense overall. Check them out. They have a great Facebook page, Equip Community Defense Training and Tactics. They have a group by the same name where they drop resource after resource after resource. Man, they got some great things going on. And to top it off, they're certified to teach this stuff. So this is not some ring-a-ding type of situation, man. They're really doing great things in the community, teaching people about that good old amendment too. We need to know how to protect ourselves out here, man. A lot of crazy things going on in the world. As you all know, I don't have to go too in depth about that, but definitely go check them out over there on Facebook, Equip Community Defense Training and Tactics. Subscribe to the group, get engaged in the group, and let them know the Gumptown Podcast sent you. All right, that's all we got to talk about, good people. On with today's show. Today's guest, he is the founder and owner of Holston Tactical. I'm looking forward to this conversation, and I'm sure you all will be inspired by his story. Let's give a warm Gumptown round of applause for Robert Holston. Robert, how's it going, man?
All right, how you doing?
Man, that's good to hear, man. All is well on my end. First things first, thank you for taking time out of your schedule to chop it up with me a few minutes. I really appreciate it.
Hey, the pleasure is all mine. Thank you for having me.
Yes, sir. Of course, we're here to talk about Holston Tactical, but before we go there, let's get to know the man behind the brand. What's your story?
Hey, I'm originally from Alabama. From Gaston, Alabama. So I moved to Montgomery when I was going to ASU, still reside in Montgomery, Alabama. In the restaurant industry, I always wanted to do something else other than that. And I, looked at how the system of the world is going. I wanted to, get a firearm company, to give our people some representation out here. So, I was like, hey, I'm gonna talk with my wife, she was like, let's do it. So after that, it's just been, run and start. We've been going to the top with Holston Tactical, just trying to find different ways to, to elevate the brand.
Okay, sounds good, man. Born and raised in Gaston, ended up coming to the Gump to go to the Alabama State University. So let's talk about just your love for guns in general. Like, when did you first know that you had a passion for guns and firearms?
Ooh, years ago. I mean, growing up, I was always around BB guns and, just that learning, that skill that you had to put behind it, I fell in love with. As I got older, when I got able to start purchasing my own guns, it was kind of like addictive. You buy one, you learn, you master the craft using that one. And okay, let's go, let's try something different. Let's, how can you increase this craft? It's just kind of like an artist with a paintbrush. You can't just have one, you want to use, try to build and learn more about, every type of caliber, every type of handgun, every type of rifle. I was just hungry for knowledge, especially, this is a right I had so I could do. So, hey, I was like, let's do it. Let's try to figure out and learn as much as we can. And so I think that passion I had for guns led me to want to share it with others. I wanted to kind of take away that negative stigmatism around gun culture, and kind of break the ice into the African American community. Because when I tell people I sell guns, it's like, oh, why you sell guns? Because these days it's really important to have gun ownership. I tell everybody, it's good to have a gun. Not just owning one, but training one, but being efficient on how to use it. storing it properly, cleaning it. It's the one thing to just go to academy and buy a gun or go on my site and buy a gun. But if you're not continuing training, cleaning, retaining information, doing your research, just having a gun is never just enough.
Great breakdown, man. Great breakdown. And that leads right into my next portion. What products and services you offering over there, Holston Tactical, and you selling guns. Anything else you want to add to products and services wise? What you're offering over there?
Yeah, we sell a whole bunch of different variety of self-defense items from, non-lethal. We have, the burner non-lethal pistols. We have pepper spray. We have stun guns, personal alarm, like the little self-defensive pokers that they put on keychains and glass breaks. It's not always just about guns. It's really, my focus is for self-defense, being able to protect yourself and being able to know how to protect yourself. That's the biggest thing for Holston Tactical, wanting people to get training on just protect themselves. Because, these days you never know what's going to happen. Every day you turn on the news is something else. What is going to happen next? So, it's always about getting our community ready. Not just saying we just cater to African American community, but that's the community we're really trying to elevate knowledge in, about guns, about gun safety.
Yes, sir, and that's solid. And our community definitely needs to be educated on gun safety and self-defense in general. 'Cause like you just said, man, you hit the nail on the head. Every time you turn on the news, man, it's just heartbreaking stuff that's going on in our community, and especially the situation that just happened in Buffalo, man. It's very important. And to be honest with you, you don't know when it's going to happen. It could happen right here in Montgomery where we live in the Gump, man. It can happen East Chase. It can happen anywhere. So I'm not saying it doesn't matter the location, but to your point earlier, it's best to be educated on how to defend yourself. So if you are in that situation, you know what to do. Because a lot of us, including myself, for years, I thought owning the gun was just going to academy, getting you a license, and you all good. But like you said, knowing how to store it, knowing how to clean it, it's layers to it, man. So I've had a chance to explore your site, man, and it looks great, professional, man. You're doing some great things over there. Just want to commend you for what you're doing over there on the site, for real.
Thank you.
Yes,
Yeah,
sir.
like you said, just to touch back on that, I think the biggest thing, when people buy a gun, I think in our community, it's like, people just want to own a gun just to say you have one. And that's not where it stops at, because if you have a gun and you've never trained or you've never carried it, you never, been able to take it out of holster. So when the time comes to use it, you just have it. And 9 times out of 10, you're gonna freeze. You might drop it. You never know what's gonna happen. You can't come out the holster because you don't train. We have to, take the time, get good equipment. Just going to buy something cheap is not the answer. Just to say you have one.
Yes, sir. Now that's spot on. Like that's one I agree 100%. Even that portion just about knowing how to use it, because a lot of us, TV and stuff like that influence us, and a lot of people think, oh, if I ever get in a situation, I'm just gonna grab that pistol with one hand and I'm gonna shoot it like 007. But to your point,
Right.
it may not go down like that if you ever in that situation. God forbid anybody in that situation where they have to pull their firearm. But like you were saying, it's important to be educated and to know what you're doing. So that leads me right into my next portion, man. Whenever I have entrepreneurs on the platform like yourself, I like to cover three things. I like to talk about the aha moment, action, and audacity. Let's start with your aha moment. What sparked the idea to take your passion for guns and turn it into a business?
Really, for me, it was the representation in the industry. Too many times, I was like, I go into gun stores and, and I'm invisible. You go into a gun store, you be done seeing like 3 or 4 people get help, you probably was in there maybe before, any of them, but it's like you're invisible, that invisibility. And, I was like, that's kind of sparked a change in me, especially some of my friends, that are frequent gun owner, frequent gun buyers. We go to the range often, And we kind of, talked about it. We had, that was a conversation. It was like, do you get the same thing? And I was like, you know what? I'm about to go in business for myself. I want to change this in our community. The goal is to get a storefront. But we're starting online. But the goal is to get a storefront so I can be able to let people come in. I can talk to them. We can have these one-on-one conversations that kind of help break the ice. And change. My aha moment might change your whole perception on guns.
Wow, man, that's powerful. Like being overlooked, and I can agree with you. That's exactly how it happens in a lot of those stores. Being overlooked, being invisible. Wow, man, that led to you basically wanting to create something for us, man. That's dope. So right into the action portion. How long after that aha moment when you realized you wanted to start this? How long did you take action towards getting started, creating the logo and all that good stuff?
Kind of hit the ground running. This was, it happened all last year. Getting the business off the ground. I started the process, to become a federal firearm licensee. I started that process. It takes 60 days to get all the background checks. It's like a real extensive background check. So if you ever bought a gun, it's just that plus a whole lot more. And once I started the process, I just started, I started figuring out logos, want to figure out the company name, and I went with Holston Tactical because, to tie my name to it, because it's our brand, it's, I wanted to put my passion out there. So, that's why I used the Holston name, to put that passion forward. So I definitely, got the ground rolling probably within the 3 to 4 months. I did my first gun show from when I started to, I got my license. As soon as I got my license, I think I got it official in September last year. I did a gun show in October in my hometown, my first gun show. So, and it was just, it's been going forward ever since then. Like a month later, I dropped my website. So, it's been, I hit the ground rolling once we got the plan last summer. I took the steps to make sure, I had everything in place because with this industry, you want to make sure you're crossing your T's and dotting your I's. You want to make sure paperwork's spot on because at any time ATF come knock at the door. We want to see paperwork on XYZ. So we have to just make sure we're doing our due diligence to stay in compliance with all federal laws.
Man, that's some great stuff, man. You hit the ground running. You didn't spend a whole bunch of time overthinking, analyzing. You knew what it was you wanted to do. You got to it. That's so key because a lot of people don't have that. They don't have that ambition, myself included. You get an idea and you get into that rut of overthinking and don't know if it's going to work, don't know if people going to like it, but it sounds like you didn't really care whether people was going to fool with it or not. You say, hey, this is something I want to create for me. And you went out there and made it happen, man. So good stuff. So that leads into the last portion, audacity. So you had your idea and you went right into the action, which, like I said, that's great stuff, man. I just want to know who or what gave you the courage, the audacity to even want to step out there and start your own.
Really, I have to give credit to my wife. She's one of my biggest supporters. I talked to her about my dreams, my past. She's like, you should do it. What are you waiting on? She's always been in my corner. She always, kind of will be the one to push me forward. Hey, if this is what you want to do, what do we need to do to go forward? And so that was my biggest supporter. Definitely my friends, after that, they loves guns just as much as me. It's like, yeah, you do it, yes. Hey, so we'll know what we can come to.
Yes, sir. That's great stuff, man. That's great stuff. And hats off to Mrs. Holston for being inspirational and believing in your dreams, man, because that's definitely key to have somebody have a spouse that believe in you. That's dope, man, for real.
Yes,
So
sir.
yes, sir, yes, sir. So hosting tacticals hit the ground running, making things happen. I know you've done great things and you will continue to do great things. So that leads to my next portion, which is vision. What are your short term and long term goals for the business?
Like I said, storefront is a goal for us. Get into the training aspect, become a trainer. And so we can offer classes and informational sessions, and actually take people to the range, actually just hold classroom classes to but we have to break the ice. We have to move forward as a community, as in taking the negative out of gun ownership. We have to arm ourselves, especially in states like Alabama, where the gun laws are really lax. But I tell people, even though we're becoming a state that doesn't require, licenses, always still get that license, because that license really is bigger than Alabama. Because if you plan on travel with firearms, you're gonna run into states that use Alabama licenses, and they're gonna require a license. So, I just want to make sure Holston Tactical is at the forefront of training, forefront of giving out knowledge, forefront of just being that gun store that you can come to, that I'm not just trying to sell you something. I'm trying to make sure you're comfortable before you leave. I want to make sure this is what you want. This is what you need for your protection.
Okay. No, man, that was some great goals, and I definitely have no doubt that all of your goals will come to fruition. So let's back up a little bit, because I know you're in the restaurant industry. You've worked your way up through the ranks in that industry, and all that good stuff. So what skills from the restaurant industry have you been able to utilize with owning your own business?
Especially from, especially customer service. That's the key thing, because I love talking to customers, love, that one-on-one interaction, especially raising up in management, it helps you with that accounting piece, that kind of that what is I can say? Just that due diligence of following numbers, making sure stuff is spot on, because with this industry, you got to keep up with numbers, paperwork. You got to keep up with licenses, when stuff expires, because you got to have business license. It's a lot of things, that I take from my day to day, and apply it to me and my LLC, because we have to follow the kind of the same business model. Even though it's a different industry, that back end kind of stuff is still pretty much the same. Trying to make sure you're spot on with taxes, spot on with kind of a lot of stuff that I think entrepreneurs kind of skip over, when stepping out there. You want to make sure you're spot on with all your legal stuff, because that's what kills a lot of businesses, taxes and stuff like that. So you want to just make sure you're taking the time out to do everything you need to do on the back end, not just the front end.
Man, it's so powerful, and I knew you would have a great answer and breakdown to that question, considering the industry you've been in and how long you've been in that industry. So hats off to you for paying attention to what you've been doing in your 9 to 5, so you were able to transfer those skills over into your business. And like you said, a lot of time businesses, they sink because they don't understand the inner workings. So like you said, your paperwork, taxes, and all that good stuff. So good stuff for paying attention in the 9 to 5. And hey, don't get me wrong, I still work a 9 to 5 as well. And it just goes to show you that a lot of those skills that we utilize in our 9 to 5 are transferable,
Right. That's true.
Yes, sir. So as we come to the end of the podcast, man, I want to ask $1 million question. I started this podcast because I wanted to highlight the greatness coming out of Montgomery, whether you're from here or you were here for a significant portion of time for school or military. You coming here for school and still residing here. What's one of the most impactful things you've learned since you've been in the city that you've been able to utilize throughout your entrepreneurial journey?
Montgomery has a rich heritage. A lot of people don't, capitalize on, the kind of the struggles and overcome, we have did in this city, especially the African American community, So that's why I think, doing this in this city, was a good start for me, because, we had the civil rights movement. It's all about equality, getting us to a better sense as a people, So in Montgomery, we have so much culture, so much knowledge that you can obtain here. So, it's been a great city for me. I love Montgomery. So I feel like, people should visit the city and grab some of this knowledge, So there's so many museums, so much stuff you can learn just being in the city.
Powerful, man. Nothing to add to that. That's some good stuff. So how can the people connect with you, Robert? What are your social media handles, Facebook and IG?
Holston Tactical on Facebook and IG. Then HolstonTactical.com. You can hit us up on any of that, inbox me on that. And we'll definitely get back with you, anytime you need to talk about, from just gun ownership to just ordinary questions, just hit us up and we'll definitely answer any questions that you have.
Yes, sir. And of course, I'll put all of that information in the description of the episode. Hey, Robert, thanks again for the conversation, man. I really appreciate you.
All right. Thank you again for having me.
Yes, sir. Good people, that concludes another dope episode of the Gumptown Podcast. We gone, but before we leave, remember, be blessed, be safe, but most importantly, have the audacity to be you. Gone. Thanks again for tuning in. I appreciate your time and your attention. Until next time.